Hey guys, welcome back. This is our promised, we had this coming for a while, but here it is. We're going to talk about one of our favorite Korean films of all time. It's the 2005 film directed by Ryoo Seung-bum, Crying Fist. 주먹이 운다.
Yeah, the Korean title is 주먹이 운다.
Which I think literally means crying fist.
Right. Well,
cries.
technically, yeah, the literal translation will be the fist cries, but I guess crying fist has a, I agree that it probably has a better ring to it.
Yeah.
The fist cries.
Starring, one of the most well-known actors in Korean cinema, Choi Min-sik, obviously from Old Boy.
Yeah. Two of the most recognizable actors in Korean cinema, actually, Choi Min-sik and Ryoo Seung-bum, who is actually the younger brother of the director.
Yeah, pretty well known, I think. He's in a lot of films as well. The Servant. What else is he in?
Oh, Ryoo Seung-bum? He's in
Berlin File.
The Unjust.
Another one of the director's films.
Yeah,
Okay.
Unjust. His brother tends to feature him a lot in of his films.
He's a really good actor.
Oh yeah.
And oh my God, this is going to be one of our first videos that we talk about, in our opinion, a real true masterpiece in the history of Korean cinema.
Oh yeah, this is definitely one of my favorites for sure. And it's weird. I don't know. I felt like at the time this movie kind of flew under the radar, don't you think? It's definitely.
Yeah. It was a big release, but it didn't get the attention and the praise that other films at the time were getting.
Yeah, that's something like Old Boy that came out a few years prior that might have received.
And for whatever reason, I don't know, but it wasn't one of those that was at all the film festivals.
Yeah.
It was just kind of a domestic, pretty big hit that year, 2005. All right, so this film is about these two men completely separated with their own narratives, their own stories that, as the film progresses, slowly converge.
Right.
Choi Min-sik plays Gang Tae-sik, who is a former Asian Games silver medalist. He's in his 40s. Basically, boxing is the only thing he's ever known. He's probably been hit in the head. Well, he's definitely been hit in the head one too many times. He's kind of a character that blames the world for all of his problems.
Blame society.
Blames society. Everyone's at fault except him. Having some family problems. But basically, this is a character that makes his money by going out into the street and saying...
Being a human punching bag.
Bag.
He's letting people on the streets pay him money to box with them, to spar with them, so that they can, vent their frustrations, by hitting him in the face with boxing gloves.
So kind of sad, kind of pathetic, but this is the basis of where his character comes from.
Yeah, and on the other side of that, you have Ryoo Seung-bum's character, who plays the character of Yoo Sang-hwan, right? Who's basically this. He's not a straight up gangster, but in Korea we will call this type of person a 양아치, which is pretty much like a neighborhood bully that's involved in like petty crime and steals from people.
Eventually might fall into the gangster path.
Right. Sort of uneducated, and he's just going down this very
uneducated.
Yeah.
I think at one point he says he can't read.
Right. Yeah. They briefly touch on that he's illiterate and he can't read.
Yeah. He's from a very poor neighborhood. His mom's out of the picture.
Yeah.
Living with his dad, who's a little bit disconnected, and his grandma and younger brother.
Right. And eventually he's doing these petty crimes until he finally he tries to rob some old guy, a senior citizen in a parking lot. And
I think he's like the neighborhood debt collector.
Yeah. What was he, a debt collector? Or was he just I think
he had ties to. He was like a loan shark.
Okay. So I mean, he's trying to rob this old man from in a parking lot, and then he ends up getting arrested there. Chase sequence with the cops ensues, and ultimately he's arrested and thrown in jail. He's right off the bat, the character is sort of introduced as this extremely aggressive and very unlikable guy who has a lot of pent up frustration, very quick to anger, and even when he's in prison, he almost immediately gets into a fight with another prisoner. Actually ends up biting the ear off of this particular prisoner. The prison guard or the CEO or whatever sees this. He sees potential in Ryoo Seung-bum's character and feels like he could sort of channel this aggression and anger in a more positive way, and convinces him to join the prison boxing club.
Which he does reluctantly join.
Yeah.
So there's his connection to boxing. Our other side, Gang Tae-shik, he owes a lot of debts around town. He's got some friends that still kind of come at him and, still kind of using him, taking advantage, getting some money. He owes a lot of money. He's got a former teammate who actually is a legitimate gangster now. He's in a very bad situation. His wife wants to leave him. One day when he hits complete rock bottom, wakes up in a subway, like drunk all night, and he sees a sign advertising this upcoming tournament for this new super lightweight amateur boxing champion. Tournament. Speaks to him instantly. He imagines himself in that world again.
So, I mean, Kang Tae-shik's character is a somewhat accurate reflection of this athlete who is past his prime and sort of trying to find his place in society.
One of his friends who really owes him a favor, owes Kang Tae-shik a favor. Kang Tae-shik tells him, there is one way that you can repay me. Train me for this tournament. I mean, the guy takes it as kind of a joke. You're 40-some years old. This could kill you. And he's at this point, similar to Ryoo Seung-bum's character, they are both in dire need of an outlet. And it's really amazing how these characters find that outlet and go down that path. It's something that I've never seen before. How well it's done.
Yeah, and usually I've always been a sucker for a boxing movie. I'm from Philadelphia, so obviously movies like Rocky really hits close to home. Creed as well, and that the boxing premise is always such a good. It's like a perfect narrative structure to tell like a really good underdog story, right? But this movie is character study, human drama first. Boxing movie second.
And the boxing, when it does come into this movie, it's almost like icing on the cake, because at that point you have seen these characters so much and you're just so in awe at what's happening. When the boxing starts, it's more like, okay, I can sit back and just watch these characters fight down their path.
And you care about what happens to these characters because you've already become so emotionally invested in both Kang Tae-shik and Sang-hwan's plight. And what this movie does so brilliantly is, like you mentioned earlier, neither of these characters are likable characters from the beginning. They're both kind of scumbaggy, but at the same time, it's fascinating because despite all that, despite the characters being so unlikable, you're still so emotionally invested in their progression and what they go through, and the film makes you sort of desperate to want to see them better themselves and redeem themselves, right?
And when it's telling you the story of Kang Tae-shik, you are completely invested. You don't even care what's happening with Ryoo Seung-bum's character, Sang-hwan. You're full in, and then the cuts are brilliant on when they go back to the other story and they progress it. And you forgot, now I'm back with Sang-hwan's character. What's going to happen now? He's in prison. He's developing his character. And then, brilliant cut, back with Kang. Oh, I forgot. And you love them both by the time it's over. And then to pit these two against each other, where you're rooting for both of them. Their heart is in every punch that they throw, and they both have legitimate reasons.
And that's literally the first time they ever meet is in the boxing ring.
At the very end.
Right? They're complete strangers, and that's what's so brilliant about this film, because this isn't the first movie to tell this story from multiple perspectives and have it, sort of converge towards the end. But I don't think it's ever been done in a boxing movie like this, where you see both sides of each corner. You don't want either side to lose, and you don't want either side to win. It's a very the movie takes you to a place of like an emotional conundrum where like you just don't you just don't know who to root for. And I think that's a sign of a really strong script and solid storytelling, where you just care so much about both of these characters that it's like, ugh.
We are getting almost 2 films independent of each other that cut back and forth, but also culminate into one movie. It's like seeing Captain America movie, and then you see the Iron Man movie, and then now they're in Avengers together, and you're like, whoa, I like both of these guys.
Oh, yeah, that's actually...
And you're like, what are these 2 main characters doing squaring off against each other?
I don't know, and there's just certain scenes littered throughout the film that are subtle, but also sort of do a brilliant job in showing the audience or giving some insight into the humanity of like Kang Tae-shik's character per se. He's kind of a slimy, unlikable character, but there's certain moments throughout the film where you can see that he still does have a heart of gold, and he
when he calls the random boy who's playing on the street to come come over here, you know, you don't play when you're with your shoe untied. And he ties the kid's shoe. He says, you know, you're gonna fall and hit your head, and you know, you hit your head and things go bad. And then he's like, give me a sip of that little bubbly drink. And then he blows bubbles into it and makes the kid laugh. And then
and that's like, that shows like the fatherly, playful side of him. And there's also another scene where he's, you know, he's boxing, or he's taking hits from people on the street, and there's a girl who's clearly distraught. I think she had recently, you know, broke up with her boyfriend or whatever. And you can see like him trying to, you know, cheer her up.
He gets real playful with a lot of the people that, you know, volunteer to punch him, and he gets the crowd going, let's give her a hand.
And those scenes like that are really heartwarming and touching, and even like the music that's like playing in those scenes, it really gets you, because it shows you that at his core, like, he really is a good person. That just sort of adds to the fact that you just really want to root for this guy towards the end, when he's, you know, starts to, you know, train for the tournament, and, you know, he comes face to face with Yoo Seung-won's character. I think it's also worth addressing that this movie has probably one of the best training montages that I've ever seen. I don't know if it might have something to do with the choice of music and just the way that it's shot and edited, but every time I watch it gets me so hyped. And
you want to do some push-ups.
Yeah, it makes you want to do some pull-ups, run around the freaking neighborhood, and just start, you know, punching the wall. And that's when a training scene gets you that hyped, that's usually a sign of, you know, really strong filmmaking.
And again, this is not what we would classify as a boxing movie.
Yeah. No.
So the sports elements in this are icing on the cake.
Yeah.
And
totally secondary.
Secondary, but so well done. So you can't believe when the boxing stuff starts coming in, you're just like, whoa, I've been watching this incredible human drama up until this point, and now I get this bonus amazing sports film. It still blows my mind to this day. There's one scene that I think is, I mean, these don't have any stunt doubles, these guys. These guys are all boxing.
Yeah, they're all boxing themselves.
And there are long takes where there's no cut, punch, cut, punch, cut, punch, cut. It is punch, punch, jab, cross, duck, move, handheld, stays with the characters, goes back and forth through a whole round. In one of the scenes, there is no cut, and if there is a hidden cut, you can't tell at all, because it seems like a one take. I think one of the rounds is all in one take.
Yeah, where the camera is just going around,
and it's in the middle of them. It'll go in the middle. It'll look at their face and go punch. And
I am convinced that this scene was that Ryan Coogler, the director of Creed and Black Panther. Creed has a very similar scene, a one take scene where, you know, Michael B. Jordan's character is boxing, you know, his opponent, and you see the camera sort of going around inside the ring without a cut. You know, obviously I don't know for sure, but I feel like he must have drawn inspiration from that scene, because it is very similar in many aspects. And obviously, you know, it is choreographed, but it doesn't feel that way. It feels very amateurish in the best way possible, where you kind of feel like, okay, these guys are amateurs, where there's a lot of sort of flailing of the arms and haymakers being thrown, and it just doesn't feel mechanical and as, you know, sort of tight and choreographed as other boxing films where you just see, 1-2 duck counter. It's
Right.
it's a lot more raw, and you see them progressively getting more and more exhausted. As the round progresses, especially that one take sequence.
Okay, so yeah, this movie, when it finally builds up, I mean, the two most incredible human characterizations, you've ever seen. Final boxing match. You love both the characters at this point. There can only be one winner.
Yeah, and it's such an emotional payoff, too, because obviously you want both characters to win. You want neither character to lose. So it's very emotionally conflicting. At least that's how I felt, especially the first time when I watched this. And I wanted to ask you, how did you feel about the decision where Ryoo Seung-bum's character ultimately ends up winning? And what do you think the intent behind that decision was?
I remember the first time watching this, just thinking, I'm glad they're both alive because I liked them so much.
Right.
But I do think the film makes me a little bit more sympathetic towards Choi Min-sik's character, and just how he's portrayed. I feel a little bit more sorry for him in his situation.
Yeah.
So I was kind of rooting for him when I initially saw the film.
I think I was too. Yeah.
But when I really think about it, he does get a win in his own way. His son is there in the final match. And his son just sees his dad just throw it all on the line.
Right.
You can't help but admire his efforts.
Yeah.
I mean, they're both winners. When these two guys, when the bell rings and they give each other a hug. I mean, it's a long hug, and they've never met before. They don't know who each other are.
Yeah.
They don't know who each other's stories are. I felt like, Ryoo Seung-bum, his Sungwon, he needed that win to really just sort of liberate himself from everything that he's fighting up until that point. And he's going back to jail.
Right, because, it's not like Ryoo Seung-bum's character is really fighting for his freedom, right? Because he's physically still going to have to go back to prison once this match is over, right? But it's almost, this win signifies the fact that he's able to prove to himself that he is capable of something more than just causing damage and causing problems in society, right? That he's actually capable of more than that. And because he is the younger character, this is only like the beginning of his evolution for him.
Right.
Whereas Choi Min-sik's character is nearing the end of his.
Yeah, and Kang Tae-sik, he enters the ring saying he's doing this to prove to himself that he can do it and that he's not going to die. And he can actually hold his own, and he can show his boxing spirit, everything that he's known. And he just wants to display that kind of one last time. Win or lose, he's in the final match. That's what he wants. I mean, of course, he would love to get his arm raised. But when Ryoo Seung-bum's character, when his corner man tells him to get in, he is fighting to sort of see his dad again. He's doing it for his dad. For all of it to be worth it, everything that he's done so far, he needs the win.
Right. So. And it's not so much he's not fighting for his physical liberation, but it's more of like a spiritual and psychological freedom, right? Whereas you have Choi Min-sik's character, it's really his last hurrah as the aging boxer who's way past his prime and end of his career. And also the movie also touches on the fact that his vision is slowly deteriorating because of all the shots that he's taken to the head. So this is really his last chance to prove himself to himself, society, his wife, his son.
The glory of going the distance. I mean, he went all the rounds. He didn't get knocked out.
Yeah.
He goes the distance.
Yeah.
With this young kid.
Right.
And he proved to everyone that he could do it. I mean, it was a split decision win.
Yeah, it was.
So that's, when you leave it down to the judges, it's not technically a loss. It's just the decision didn't go in your favor.
Right.
So, I mean, this could have been a draw easily.
Yeah.
But that's not the decision that needs to be done. Ryoo Seung-bum's character needs to win.
Yeah.
He needs to have his arm raised. But early in the movie, when he does have his failure, when Ryoo Seung-bum does fail in the ring, and he walks past his grandma and his younger brother and like, hey, why didn't you say hi? Why didn't you do anything? He's like, I'll say hi when I win.
Oh, yeah, you're right.
And when he finally does win and they're like, here's your trophy, he doesn't collect his trophy. He marches straight towards his grandma.
He's not doing it for the trophy.
He marches straight towards them. That's when he gives the hug.
And it's a really emotional payoff on both sides because, you know, despite the fact that Choi Min-sik lost, you still have his son stepping into the ring,
climbing up onto him.
Yeah, and they're both crying, and he's, you know, Choi Min-sik's face it's swollen, you know, to the point where you can barely recognize him, and you know, you have the son wiping off the blood on his face, and they're both crying, and it's a really emotional scene. I get choked up every time during that end sequence.
Get the tissues ready.
Yeah, and you know, he's saying sorry to his son, and the son's like, you know, what do you have nothing to be sorry about? And he's like, let's go to the sauna, and it's like, I'm almost getting choked up even thinking about it right now. But it's because this movie is, as much as it is about a movie about redemption and an underdog story, it's also a movie about fathers and sons.
And you can't deny the impact that they're going to have on you, and you're going to feel something when you watch this movie. Definitely.
Yeah, it's definitely an emotionally rewarding experience, and I feel like it's hard not to feel inspired. By this film.
Really about, I don't know, just being positive, being a positive force, doing something. Because if you see what these two guys can do, and what they accomplished, you're like, anything is possible.
I would say it's one of the best studies of the human condition and the human spirit, and where, you know, how far that can take a person. Yeah, man, I just don't have enough good things to say about this movie. Just on every level, the technical aspects, the acting, the directing, the editing, even the music, the score.
I gotta get that score. So good.
For sure, I would say this is, without a doubt, within my top 5 Korean, not just Korean films, but I consider one of the best movies that I've seen. Anything sports related, human drama, whatever it is, you know, just in general.
I definitely agree. This is definitely one of the best movies I've ever seen.
It's unfortunate that I feel like this movie is criminally overlooked.
Right. I mean, it's actually kind of hard to track down a decent copy of this. It's not on Blu-ray anywhere. Please, let's get this out there. It is one of the best movies. It's a 10 out of 10. It's a true masterpiece. Classic of the early days of Korean cinema. It is just a defining film of one of the greatest Korean actors, one of the great Korean directors.
If you're a fan of the boxing genre, or if you appreciate a good underdog story,
which who doesn't?
If you're a fan of good human drama and good characterizations, and just if you just like movies in general, this is required viewing.
All right, so that'll be it for this discussion video. This is going to be one of hopefully many future classic or masterpiece, Korean or other.
And this one was a long time coming for sure, because we had planned to do this for a while.
Yeah, sorry about that, guys. It's been a very busy September for us.
For sure.
Now into October, so if you did like this video, appreciate if you like it. Let us know if you do want to see more like this. You know, leave us a comment down below on your thoughts about this movie or others.
Yeah, and if you guys have any other classic Korean movies that you would like us to discuss, then, you know, we're always open to suggestions.
Absolutely. All right, so let's end it there. As always, I'm Tyler from the Movie Beat.
I'm James.
And keep watching movies.